Hi there, it's Brian from Northern Power and Safety, and I wanted to cover onboarding tags with the Lockout ID system. Now, this is going to assume that you are brand new. Maybe you're doing a proof of concept. Maybe you are ready to turn in your traditional tags for something that's more efficient and gives you more power to know what's going on from anywhere. Now, let me show you quickly here in this camera what we are replacing. We are going to be a direct replacement for these, which are traditional lockout tags. Now, these ones are very bulky. Some of them are paper, some of them are plastic. They will all give you bad paper cuts. They're also not green at all. Some of them, like this one, will allow you to print out a photograph of the worker and then seal it up, knowing that these aren't easily or at all reusable if any of this stuff changes. If the date that you're working changes, if the name of the person changes, if the work scope, what they're working on changes, if their contact number or their shift changes, you throw this away. This goes right in the landfill. And as a company in 2025, we want to avoid this as much as possible. Plus, we want to avoid rebuying something that we don't really need to anymore in 2025. Okay, so you know what we were. Where were we? We're here. What are some of the problems with this? Well, there are many. Most of them don't have pictures. Secondly, most of them aren't readable. Like penmanship is dead. Maybe some of them were filled out with crayons. It's also not really efficient because you need an implement that can, first of all, write on the tag surface legibly and then have enough ink or marker or whatever left within it so that you can fill this out. So these are all points. Plus, once this tag is on a machine or it's on a lockbox, there really isn't a whole lot you can see from your office or remotely or anywhere else besides right next to it reading it. So that's that. What the answer is Lockout ID by Northern Power and Safety. Now, this has been on the market since 2023, so it has been tested quite a bit, and we have received quite a bit of feedback that has informed not only the design of the hardware, but also the software which you are going to see, which was just recently updated in this month of November 2025 for some really cool features. Now, let me give you a tour of this tag. This is a Lockout ID Generation 2 tag. Now you can see how compact it is, especially when we compare it to a traditional bulky tag that won't even fit in this camera's view. It features a 2D printed QR code that will not smudge and will not peel off this tag. It also has red raised hash marks and danger. On the top, we have really beefy hinges, and on the very top, we have the human readable code that gives us this lockout ID number of V20035. This can be used for a lot of different purposes, not least of which is when we assign it to a worker, all they have to do is remember that their tag is 35. So if it is on the job site, maybe on a pegboard in the safety area, ready to work, they just know that they have to grab 35 and all their details there. On the back of this tag, the Generation 2 tag, you will find an NFC chip. Now, NFC chip is the same technology that allows you to pay by tapping your credit cards or your cell phone to pay with like Apple Pay and things like that. All you have to do is tap your phone here on this tag, and it allows you to sign in and sign out of a job and appear on shift or off shift without filling out and maintaining a separate sign in, sign out log, which again suffers from a lot of the problems that we have and we see with the traditional tag. Not the least of which is having a pen that writes, being able to decipher the person and the time that they have signed in. Also, because the sign in, sign out ability is attached to the tag, you don't have a line of people at a desk filling out a single sign in, sign out sheet. They just take their tag and walk off. And when they start, they tap with their phone and then they just get going. It's very efficient. Okay, so that's the tag. It's on a lock. It will fit all standard safety locks. This is a Bovie, but it also fits Master Lock, Brady, Zing, and all the rest. Let's put that aside. How do we get started? Now, it is recommended that you have a supervisor account. Now, there are several different work scopes or different scopes for setting up supervisor accounts. It does not cost for a supervisor account, but there is a management domain that goes along with it. Each tag is assigned or onboarded under the supervisor account. So if this tag 20147 is onboarded under this account that we see on the screen, then it will show up and be able to be viewed and managed by me. If each individual signs up with a supervisor account and onboards a tag, then they will be the only one that will be able to view, edit, and well, not view. Once it's onboarded, anybody can view it, but they'll be the only one that can delete or update the details. So for the standard use case, you will have a single supervisor account for a company who will have all of the tags underneath them. And when you purchase the Lockout ID 25 pack, you'll see that on the top is a nice convenient QR code, which allows you to create an account. I'm going to take my phone here, which we'll see. So I already had an account. Okay, so when we scan that, we're going to sign up here, and you will put in your first name, last name, email address. This will be your business email address, would be the recommendation. And you'll choose a password and a confirmation, and you will click sign up. The second most important step is you will need to go to that email address and click the confirmation email. We do this in order to stop abuse of the system. So you do need to confirm it. You can't just create an account. Again, accounts are free. You do not pay for accounts. But understand that accounts are the domain for billing. So if you onboard new tags under your account, that's who's going to get the bill. Okay, so we've done that. So I have done that. I am logged in here. I'm going to show you down here on the side what we're working with, and then we will onboard some tags. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just call out if we want to go super fast and we want to just get this done and figure everything else out afterwards, not a problem. Let's just head on down here to generate fast start. Fast start is the Lockout ID way of doing quick onboarding. Now it starts with the QR code that we see here on the screen. Once you generate the QR code for the fast start, it is only available and working for 60 minutes. After 60 minutes, you will have to regenerate that. You'll get an error if you try to use an expired code. But what this does is it allows you to do super fast onboarding. All you do is you'll print this out, you'll have it on your desk, you'll have your workers come in, and they will scan this first, which we will show you. And we see that we are signed in, logged in now with limited access, and we now have to scan a Lockout ID to onboard it. Now, doing this only allows us as that worker to onboard a tag. So we're going to take this tag here that I have that isn't onboarded. And now we would have that worker walk away and they'll take their tag. And what they'll do is they'll go in and they will scan it and they will get the new onboarding tag screen here. So we can see that there is several areas of places where we are going to be filling in. Now up at the top, you do see here I'll highlight this camera icon. This is actually where you have to click this to add your photo. Now, photos can be obtained right from the camera, or they can be obtained from your photo reel. Either way, some people actually like professional headshots they might have stored on their phone. Not a problem. Now, one thing to note that as of the last release in November, on November 14th, 2025, it is required that you do add a photo. So let's run through this. Let's fill out the tag for Steve. He is going to be working for NPSS, which is Northern Power and Safety. He is going to be in the night shift. He is going to work for, let's see. Yeah, let's have him work for the BFP, the boiler feed pump number 2. And we're going to give him the 617-340-3061, the number for Northern Power and Safety. We're going to click or tap here on the phone. You'll see Create Lockout ID. And we're going to see it did not work. We have been prompted with please fill in all required fields. A worker photo is required for new lockouts. Now, when I click close on my phone here, I want you to notice that it's going to bring us up to the top where the button is, and it's going to highlight it in red. So you can see that that's prompting us to take that picture. That's not a bad picture, so I'll take it. And I'm just going to say use that photo. We've got all the information in there. We will try to click Create Lockout ID again. But before we do that, I want to go over to my dashboard by clicking the back button. And I want you to notice another one of the magical properties here of the Supervisor portal. Now, it does not require you to refresh this page. All of the updates happen in the background automatically. So I'm going to tap Create Lockout, and what we're going to do is we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to see it instantly show up on our dashboard, and it's also going to give that person that created that lockout tag a preview of what it is so they can see that they did it right. Now, what we're looking for here is we're looking for the name here, Steve Hamilton. We're looking for the BFP2, which is the work scope, the NPSS nights for company and shift. I'm going to go down here. If we wanted to press the blue button, which is behind this little thing here, if we tap that, we can see that it would call, and we can even test the call function by doing that. So we're not going to do that. We're going to cancel that right now. So that is onboarding the tag. What I'm going to do here is go back to the camera, and we're going to show you the behavior of a tag that is already onboarded, which we know that this tag is onboarded. So let's just do this. And we'll go and we see that the tag instantly comes up. It does not prompt us to fill out the details because it's already onboarded. Now, the beauty of this system is that you don't need an app to do this. You don't need to have an account. You don't need to be logged in. Anybody can scan an onboarded tag and see the details and contact that person right away. And that's smart safety. So we've got Steve here. Let's take a look at what information we have. We have the name of the person. We have the picture we can see from the Supervisor portal. We have their tag ID we can see here. We can instantly see their shift in their company, their work scope, their telephone number. We can also see this eyeball here, which keeps track of how many times this tag was scanned and viewed. If it was viewed 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, this could be really important if you have a requirement to scan physically every tag, every shift. So imagine if you were on shift for 5 days, if Steve was on shift for 5 days, and he needed to be scanned for an audit at least 5 times. You should see that 5 there. Now up here, you'll see a work scope filter. We're going to onboard another tag here. We're going to onboard this tag. So let's get it on. Let's shift back through. Let's highlight that. And let's get going. This one's going to be Gary Davis. Gary's also going to work for Northern Power and Safety. He's going to be in the nights. He's going to be working for, let's see, electrical. His number is still going to be the Northern Power one. We are going to take a picture so that we don't have to make a mistake, get a prompt. We're going to take the Gorilla Glue. This obviously would be their picture. But here we go. We've got all of his information here, and we're going to go and create that. And we're going to see that come up. We're going to see it instantly appear. And now I can take you through some of the other features within the dashboard. So the work scope filter allows us to filter in and look at particular jobs. Maybe we just want to hone in on what's happening with our boiler feed pump number 2, see who's on shift, see who's not on shift, and see that from there. Maybe at the end of a job, the people that were working on BFP2, that's now done, so you could just filter by the work scope, and then you could go and delete each of the tags. When you click the delete button, it does give you a confirmation to make sure that you really want to do that. You didn't accidentally click it. We're going to click cancel here because we don't want to delete it. But that would be an easy way to do it. We can go to all work scopes here. We can also search for the tag. So perhaps we had the Gary's come in, and Gary's done with the electrical work. We've got his tag and his lock here, and he's given us the key back. That's great. We don't know who left this because it just showed up on our desk with a note that said, I'm done. So what we're going to do here is go into the search, and we're going to press V20035. We can hit enter, or we can click the search button, and we're going to come up with his tag, and then we can go and we can delete that. And then once we have deleted it, unlike the standard traditional tags that you've seen, we don't just throw this in the trash and buy a new one. We just delete this, and then we reissue it, and somebody else can use it. Pretty good. We'll go back to all work scopes, and we can clear. Now, another thing that we can do is we can export our list. So say we have hundreds of workers and we just want an accounting of them. We can just click the Export CSV button. We can open that file. We can save that file, whatever we want to do. And we will be able to see if we click here in the corner and double click on any of these uprights. We can expand this all. We can see all the lockouts we assigned, the names of the people, the shifts, their work scopes, telephone numbers, and if they have a photo. This is important because prior to November 15th's release of the Supervisor portal, it was actually allowed to create a lockout ID without a photo. So if that is something which you want to standardize within your workflow, that everybody has a photo, it's now required, but you can export this list and go back in and make sure everybody has a photo. Now, keep in mind that if you had this tag and it was onboarded prior to the release, so it didn't have a photo, and you cleared it out, the next time it gets onboarded, it would require it. So no problem there. These are just permanent tags that you might have there in the field that you want to make sure photos are updated. So you could sort this by photo, no, and then you can go in and update those photos, and you'll be good to go. Again, this is something that traditional tags cannot do. We're going to not save that. We're going to click this arrow to get rid of that. Now, we've talked about searching. We can search by name or tag number. We can export. We can search and filter by work scope. If you have multiple tags here, you might have to scroll down like we did here And what I did is I just moved my mouse into this area and I used the scroll wheel. You can also go over to this side, and as you do it, you'll see that there's actually a scroll here that you can grab. Whichever way works best for you, not a problem. Now down the bottom, you'll notice that there's something called pagination. That means that we're not going to have a very long list of hundreds and hundreds of tags here. We're going to separate them out into pages. And if you need to scroll to a different page, you can click the arrows or the page number, which makes it really easy and convenient to search if you know the name of the tag or the number to find somebody or to filter by work scope. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out, if you don't like scrolling and need a little bit more room, you can actually dismiss the filter, and that's what the X is all about. Click that and you'll have some more room, so maybe you don't have to scroll as much. You'll also see here in the dashboard the number of tags and the active work scopes that you're working with. And on the left navigation, we'll go through these things one by one. In profile settings, we have the ability to upload a company logo. As you see, the recommendations are 100 by 100 or larger, and this will be displayed in the dash view and remote view headers that we'll see. So we just select that photo and then update the profile. In this case, I'll go back to the dashboard. That is not required. Now you can sign out here. You can clear the lid. So if you are having a use case where you have a lot of people on a project, and then when the project's done, you delete all the tags and you send them back to a tooling warehouse to be reused on the next project, you can just easily click this clear lids button. It'll ask you if you want to clear out all the lockout IDs, in which case you'd say yes, and then you just pack up all the lockout IDs and send them back to be reissued. Again, this is something that you cannot do with this. You throw this in the landfill and you buy more. So sad. The next link down here we have is directly to our site for you to order more lockout IDs. Below that is a quick link to email our support if you have questions, concerns, or even feedback. A lot of the features that you see here that are released in our release sprints are done so because of customer feedback like you. We have the tag audit function. Let's take a look at this. Again, tag audit and generation 2 with NFC and shift status takes the place of your traditional sign in, sign out books, which is another piece of paper that you have to maintain, and it can be just really not so good. So what you can do here is you can actually sort this if you wanted to by the lockout IDs that you have currently or names of workers, or you could do it by work scope. You could do it by time frame, all time, or select a month or last month. And you can change the time zone. If you click the time zone at the top, you will see some of the most common time zones, especially in the United States and Canada, the Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. So if you're doing some work here in Central Time Zone, you may want to record all those times in the Central Time Zone. And when you do so, you'll see that all of the status changes are listed here in that time zone. You'll also see that the source for any of these sign-in, sign-outs will be NFC tap if they're using Generation 2 tags, or if you use the upcoming Northern Power and Safety ARC technology that uses ultra high frequency RFID. Keep an eye out for that. Now you can always quickly clear all the filters you have. You can export this information to a PDF by clicking the PDF button. And you can go back to the dashboard, which you will do. Now, finally, the dash view and the really neat and brand new remote view. Dash view allows that supervisor who must be logged in to have a view of what is going on with their lockout IDs in this live operations board. We have this board that is designed after a airport departure and arrival board. So we see that we have a breakdown of how many people are on shift and off shift, how many total tags. We have the date and the time. And we have all the pertinent information, including their pictures, lockout IDs, names, scopes, companies, shift status, when that was last changed, and the source. And what I'm going to do is go back here, and I'm going to show you the brand new remote view feature and why that's important. So the remote view feature is brand new, and it allows somebody to see a version of the dashboard view without having to have an account or be logged in. This is great if you have a security operations center, perhaps maybe a headquarters or a safety area where you want to just display all of the work and projects that are going on within the company in a live fashion. So you could load these up on large screens, monitors in the lobby or in offices or anything like that. And all you do is each supervisor account will have a special read-only link, and you'll just click the copy button. It'll tell you it's copied. I'm going to come up here to show you this in an in-private window. An in-private window will just make sure that when we're looking at this, it's not taking into consideration that I'm logged in, so it can show you that anybody with this link would be able to use it. Click enter, and we'll see here that we have the Lockout ID dashboard, remote operations board. We have the name of the supervisor right there, so you can differentiate the projects. We have the same on shift, off shift, and the tag count. We have the same movement. Down here in the bottom, we have the Lockout ID version, the remote view mode, and then the identification that this is read-only access. People with this link, the only thing they'll be able to do is to see this dashboard. So you can send it in a Teams message, in an email, in an instant message, in a text message. Anyway, anybody with that link can see it. So I'm going to close this up, and this really ends our tour of the Lockout ID Supervisor portal and what it's like to onboard for the first time. If you have any questions, we are always available. You can reach us at support@lockoutids.com, or you can click that email button, or you can reach out on telephone 617-340-3061. We would be happy to take your feedback, to answer any questions, or to even host a POC training with your group. Stay safe out there, and thank you for choosing Northern Power and Safety Solutions.